Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of the Supreme Wrestling Federation. I'm Chris Carnage. I will be your host for this series. This will be a series on the Supreme Wrestling Federation on Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. The Supreme Wrestling Federation is a company in the Cornellverse. They have a lot of history. Their owner, Richard Eisen, basically destroyed the territorial system. And over the last couple years, the company's kind of gone downhill. So this series will be about the kind of the rise to bring them back to prominence, if you will. Here we have our first episode of Supreme TV booked and ready to go. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so we start off with Eric Eisen versus American Machine. Eisen wins in 6:53 via pinfall. The way I kind of see this going is Eisen just kind of comes out, starts out the show with a match. He's upset because he doesn't have anything to do, and we got a pay-per-view coming up in 2 weeks. So he kind of comes out here, makes a statement victory, beats the hell out of American Machine, pretty one-sided. And then after the match, that's good to note. After the match, he gets on the microphone and he goes, "Well, I don't have a match at When Hell Freezes Over, and I'm obviously SWF's top guy. I demand a world title match. I need something that fits somebody of my stature." So Jerry Eisen comes out and he responds, "You know what, Eric? You've always been this guy that thinks he's the greatest. You've always tried to live up to Dad and be at the top of the company. Well, I'm tired of hearing you bitch about it, so tell you what. If you can beat Angry Gilmore in a match in the main event next week, you can be added to the world title match at When Hell Freezes Over, and it will be a fatal four-way. But if you lose, you're suspended for a month." So then we go to the next segment. Mikey Lau's training backstage. He's got a heavy bag and he's just kicking the shit out of it. A couple of punches, elbows. Monty Trescard walks up. They have a match later tonight. And Monty, being the successful businessman that he is, tries to make Mikey an offer to get him to back out of the match. He's seen opening up a briefcase. Nobody knows what's exactly inside. One can only assume money. Mikey Lau shuts the briefcase and kicks it out of his hands. And Monty tells him he will regret that later. Here we have kind of a showcase match again. Rogue versus Oliver Cobb. Just to kind of to give Rogue some momentum heading into the title match at When Hell Freezes Over. Another one-sided. Rogue just pretty much beats him down. Oliver Cobb's kind of bland. He's basically a jobber. So then he gets on the mic and he basically calls out the other two participants of the match, Remo and Ingrid Gilmore. And he goes ahead and adds Eric Eisen just in case he's involved. But he gets on there, nobody gives me a chance against Remo. Nobody gives me a chance against Gilmore. I'm not as big as Remo. I'm not as technical as Gilmore. But I do have some smarts. I'm smarter than both of those guys put together. And come the pay-per-view, you'll see exactly why. Oh, and as for Eric Eisen, he's always been the golden boy, but everybody in this building knows he sucks. So now time for Mikey Lau's match. He comes out, and then Monty comes out, seemingly to join the match, but he gets on the microphone and he goes, "You know what, Mikey? Since you didn't want to take my deal, I found somebody who will, and you're not wrestling me tonight. You're wrestling Everest." For those that don't know, Everest is a pretty big bastard. But however, Mikey Lau still takes the victory using his martial arts moves and just his general speed over Everest. Everest doesn't get too much in. He kind of throws him around a little bit, but Mikey's just a little too quick for him. Monty also sat in on commentary for this match. So now we see a video showing Angry Gilmore training. He's in the gym, he's on the mats, he's working on some chain wrestling, getting ready for that pay-per-view match in a couple of weeks. Now here comes Remo, and kind of in response to Rogue's promo earlier, he tells Rogue basically, you know, you're right, you're not as big as me. I've decimated everybody in this company since I joined it. Hell, I've beaten the face that runs the place and Jack Bruce for my first title win. And just last month, I beat the brakes off of Angry Gilmore, and he's shown training for what? Another ass whooping? Oh, and as for Eric Eisen, if he's lucky enough to get past Gilmore, he'll be the first person I go after. So as we can see, nobody really cares for Eric Eisen in this company, it seems like. So here we have a segment with the Crippler and Jack Bruce. The Crippler comes out and he runs down Jack Bruce, talking about how he injured him and how he never got the opportunity that he should have got, and that's why he did what he did to Jack Bruce. And because of him, Bruce won't be back till later this year. But then Bruce comes up on the little main screen in the arena, the Titantron, if you will. He goes, "Hey, Crippler, up here, up here." And the crowd's going berserk because they love them some Jack Bruce. Bruce says, you know, you really think you beat me down and you really think you were going to keep me down? Not in a New York minute. And he takes off this neck brace that he's been wearing because he got tombstone onto a chair. And he goes, tell you what, Crippler, you think you're such a badass? Why don't you show me how badass you are when I'm there next week? Here we have the Bump Holes versus Austin Smooth and Justin Sensitive. This is to kind of show the crowd what the Bump Holes are about. They got a title match against the Awesomeness. So then after the match, they go backstage, and Huey and Jefferson, the little cocky young pricks that they are, start kind of laughing at Randy and Zimmy, and they get into a little bit of a confrontation. And Jefferson and Huey, they go, you know what? We'll show you what a real team looks like next week. Now we have Jimmy Hernandez versus John Greed. This is a match design. I want to start kind of pushing Jimmy a little bit. We need some more baby faces in the main event scene. I like John Greed, but Jimmy's really good everywhere. So he comes out and he basically just controls the match a little bit of high flying, throws a couple of kicks in there, some good chain wrestling. Greed gets him with the eye poke and slows him down a little bit, and then Jimmy has a hot comeback and takes the victory, much to the crowd's delight. So here we have a hype video about the main event for next week. Gilmore versus Eisen. Title shot versus suspension. And then our main event of the evening, we have Joey Morgan and Valiant teaming up to face on the former Chase Agency, Paul Huntingdon and Brandon James. And about to have good heat and decent wrestling, Paul Huntingdon and Brandon James defeated Joey Morgan and Valiant in 1820 when Big Money Brandon James defeated Valiant by pinfall with a Big Money move after Chrissy Angel interfered. So this was a real back and forth match. Joey Morgan's feuding with Paul Huntingdon over the North American title, and then Valiant and Brandon James are feuding because of I believe Brandon James feel Valiant cost him a title shot. It's one of the default storylines. I'm kind of carrying those through so we can move out and onwards. But anyhow, I wanted to get the heels a victory here. Had the baby faces win most of the show. Brandon James and Paul Huntingdon got some heat early on in the match, kind of how I see it. And then Joey Morgan made a hot tag to Valiant. Valiant kind of starts clearing the ring a little bit. And then that sneaky Chrissy Angel gets up on the apron, and Valiant, being the stand-up babyface that he is, goes over there to try to get her down, and then Huntingdon gives him a nut shot, and Brandon James hits him with the finish, and they get the victory there. So then, in the post-show, just to get Angry Gilmore on the card, we had him in a video package, but actually live and in the flesh. wanted to give the fans here a little bit of angry. He went over Hardcore Killer. We signed him on a one-night deal. And then post-match, he gets on the microphone and just talks to the crowd live, thanks them for coming out, and tells them that he'll definitely be beating Eisen next week, so nobody has to worry about a fatal four-way when hell freezes over. And that's the end of the show, 81B. Thanks for watching. If you like it, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.